Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well, staying healthy, staying in your house. I have a couple questions today from Lorin, and I love questions like these because Lauren's really caught up and I'm just really excited to speak to this because I think, even if you hear Lauren's questions and you think you know the answer, there's so much to hear beyond the words, there's so much to hear beyond our understanding of how things work, because even when we know where our experience comes from and how things work, it doesn't mean we don't have that experience, and it doesn't mean we don't get caught up and forget at times. So let me read Lauren's questions. So she says, thank you for all you do. Here's my question. I can't stop thinking about anarchy or the possibility of no end in sight to this scenario. I also read an article about how Trump is making horrible decisions that will lead to more catastrophes. How can I not worry about what happens next or think I should leave the country in order to be safe? Like, how do I know when a real decision needs to be made versus being unproductive in worry? And that's really the root of it right there. That last piece that Lorin threw in there. That's what she's asking. How do I know when a real decision needs to be made? Because she's in all this fear. She's in all these scenarios, worst case scenarios, fantasies, really, just, her imagination running wild. And minds go there, obviously, sometimes more than others, but everybody's mind goes there at times. And just that alone is so huge to know that, and so easy to overlook or to forget in a moment, because what happens is our mind goes out to some scenario that is out in the future or isn't happening, even that may feel like it's happening, but it's not happening right here in the present moment to you. Like, that your mind has gone there and created this image and this picture and the story of it. And that's what you're feeling, and it knocks you over a little bit. It feels absolutely true and real and likely, and because that's just what a mind does. A mind does not give us 2D boring, kind of pictures of what could happen. Like, it gives it with detail and evidence, and this person said, and this could happen, and all of that. And we get kind of knocked over by it in that moment. And so, of course, it just feels like it's valid, like we should start planning for it or to avoid it or whatever it might be. And we sort of lose what's going on a little bit. We lose sight of the super simple and really obvious when we see it, fact that right now this isn't happening. Right now, we don't know anything. Right now in this moment, all these scenarios that Lauren's mind is imagining aren't happening. Now, I know what a mind will say, because I have one too. A mind will say, yeah, but what if it could happen? It seems likely to happen. Like, shouldn't I be planning now? Shouldn't I be figuring this out now? Like, and Lauren's question is an excellent one. How do I know when it's time to actually take this seriously and do something with it, as opposed to just sitting and spinning in unproductive worry? Everyone knows, like, I want to say everyone knows when they know, but I don't want that to sound like, I don't want you to get the impression that we have these bolts of clarity where we absolutely, okay, now I know for sure it's time to do something. We do have those, but we don't necessarily think them up in our heads. Like, it doesn't look that way to us, because in the moment of action and doing things and just doing what makes sense, usually our mind doesn't have to be there narrating the whole thing. So think about any time that you feel like you've been just kind of lived through some scenario that your mind could never figure out. Like, you're never going to know when is the right time to leave the country because you're afraid of what might happen, what decision the president might make. Like, that's not a mental thing where you're going to be like, okay, here's how I know, when these 5 things happen, this is going to be the day that we leave the country. No, it's not going to work that way. What happens is life lives us. What happens is we're swimming in it. We're constantly seeing new things. We're in the moment of it all the time. We're always being updated with new thoughts, new information, like it's live, it's in real time. It's not in our thinking about it. It's in real time that it happens. So in real time, life is living us, and we find ourselves making choices, making decisions, taking actions. We don't really, separately, we might sit around and think about these things. You might sit around and think, when do I move and what's going to happen and what if and all of that. But I really want you to get this feel, Lorin, for how these are two kind of separate things. Your mind can sit around and talk about it and play out the scenarios and all of that, fine. But bigger than that, deeper than that, in real time, you're constantly being flooded with common sense and action that you don't need to take in a way. Like your mind doesn't need to decide what to do. You just see decisions. You just see choices playing out in front of you. You see options that you can't currently see, and you find yourself doing things. Now, I know a mind hates that answer, because what that does to your mind is it says, okay, little guy, you sit over here and don't worry. We don't really need you for this. You just sit over here and talk and do your thing, but something else is going to live me. And your mind hates that. So right now, your mind may be arguing with that a lot. Your mind may be saying, I can't sit around and just wait. But I promise you, Lorin, if you take a look, we just don't have the eyes to see it because we're in mind mode. We're in like, but how will I know? And what will I do? And what will it look like? When we relax our minds and we step out of mind mode a little bit, you can look back and see throughout your life, everything, every wise choice you've made, every decision, like all the big, important, helpful things you've done in life, your mind did not do for you. Your mind may have helped. It may have been there. It may have been a supporting character in this cast, and it helps, and it brings in intellect and ideas and facts and all of that. It's great. But you didn't have to know outside of real time how it was going to play out. You can't. You just know what to do when you know what to do and you do it. And life happens in real time like that, separate from a mind up here talking about it outside of real time. So whenever we're spinning in worry, it is unproductive. There's nothing productive in that. And it's not a bad thing. I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I'm spinning in worry. I'm going to be blinded to my own common sense and wisdom. If you kind of have a sense that common sense and wisdom are on a separate plane, like they're always playing out, they're always living you, your mind can go to some crazy places and it doesn't throw you off. Like you don't go with it so much because you know where the real truth and the real answers and the real resourcefulness are coming from. So see if you can get a feel for it on these I like that as an illustration, these kind of separate planes. Your mind over here planning, but meanwhile, you're just being lived, and you always have been. If you can look back and see, you always have been. So Lorin's second question, I'll just speak to this one briefly. She says, let's say you're in a situation that's bad and it's not in your head. From something like literally having no toilet paper in your house to losing someone from this sickness. How can you still be okay in these moments? It's the same answer, Lorin. Your okayness doesn't come from how much toilet paper you have or the health of you, the physical health of you or anyone around you. It's two separate planes. Your okayness is a given. And I can say that all day long, but you need to look. You need to look and see if you can see that for yourself. There is an inherent okayness in everything, especially humans. And then there's all kinds of stuff that happens. And there's all kinds of feeling that we have. But that feeling doesn't take away from the inherent okayness. They're two separate things. So and I know you can see this, Lorin, people do die, people do get sick, and there's a range of experience. Now, in general, you're going to feel pretty sad and all those, that type of emotion. If someone that you love gets sick or dies, of course. But the feeling is always moving. It doesn't take away from your okayness. You're okay while you're feeling all of that. And the feeling, again, is always moving. So you're not in any of that for long. It's constantly in flux, constantly in motion. Same with the toilet paper. I won't go into that, but obviously, right? There are people right now with no toilet paper in their house and they're experiencing whatever the heck they're experiencing. And it has nothing to do with their their okayness at all. You just, when we don't have the eyes to see that, we just look at the feeling and the circumstance and we get stuck there. But when you back up a bit and you're able to see the bigger picture, you can let all this stuff move through so much more easily. So thank you so much for your questions, Lorin. I know they're really helpful to a lot of people. And again, even if you kind of knew, if you're listening and you in this conversation a lot and you kind of knew what I'd say to those, like you could have answered these questions with the right answers, there's still so much to see and hear and feel in really looking at, man, it really is this way. It really is this way. So thanks for listening. I'll see you guys back here next Monday.